Hello, friends.
Hi, everybody.
What's that quote by Marcus Aurelius?
Our life is what our thoughts make it. Yeah.
And to me, this is one of those things that is so essential, and yet it's hidden by our culture. This is an awareness that most of us will never really think about in life unless it's brought to our attention by someone like Mr. Aurelius.
Our life is what our thoughts make it. Yeah, what does that even mean? We are asked to think about, what do you believe in? You know, are you spiritual? Are you atheist? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? But I'm talking about what I think of as our operating system. It's always running on the background. So even though you say, oh, I really want to be like this, underneath there's this sort of really ingrained built-in belief system that we don't really ever pull out and examine and say, hey, is this what we want? It's just running on autopilot.
So today, we are going to help you become aware of that operating system and show you how to maximize it for living life.
I'm ready. What do we do?
So basically, we move through life, and much of our life experience is shaped by the culture we grow up in. And in our culture, we are given the message that the important stuff is how you structure your externals. Mm-hmm. So making good money, having a good career, getting good grades. When we talk about how somebody's doing in life, we're going to give a list of those sorts of credentials. We're not going to say that person is extremely happy under any circumstances, because that doesn't just figure into, for most of us, I'm generalizing here,
right,
how we have been taught to operate in life.
Yeah, it's not the standard American cultural operating system that we're talking about here. We're talking about something a little bit deeper, really. Mm-hmm. And that is your overall frame of mind, your attitude. And it seems a little bit that in our culture, if we're talking about our life as who we are as a picture, we all are busy making the frame for the picture that goes in it, instead of painting this beautiful picture and worrying about the frame later. You know, the frame being the externals. But you can have all the things. You know, you could have the car, the hair, the body, the person, the whatever. But if your brain, if your mind, if your thoughts essentially don't see it, they can't have gratitude for it, you can't be present, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Is that too drastic?
No.
Oh, you have nothing. But it's true. I think we've probably all met people, maybe you can attest to this, where you go, they have everything. Why are they complaining? Why are they, and it comes down to that belief, the thoughts. The thoughts make the life that we experience. Literally, what we think about ourselves, our health, the world, other people, that becomes the world that we experience. So is that too radical?
Think about this. No, it's not. Because this is an essential thing to understand. Again, something that we're not taught. What I'm thinking, what's going on in my mind, is the reality I'm experiencing. So you spoke about someone who, quote, has it all. You can imagine someone who is sitting down to a banquet. It's incredible food, incredible people around them, beautiful music, and in their head, they are stewing over some wrong that was done to them yesterday.
Or something they have in the future that they're super worried about.
The banquet essentially doesn't exist for them. Mm-hmm. All that goodness is completely wasted on them because their mind creates their reality. It's not what we have on the outside. It is what we're thinking, what our mind is doing.
How we see it. Can I give an analogy?
Yeah.
Our beliefs, our thoughts about the world are like a pair of spectacles that have a different color for each of us. And so that banquet, no matter what is put in front of me, if I have on a certain color spectacles, let's say they're my Eeyore spectacles, I love you, Eeyore, oh, boo-hoo, whatever, no matter what, that's the color it's going to be until you take off the spectacles. You can't see it. We want to have, talk about rose-colored glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are those people who, no matter what happens to them, they have a positive response to it. They have trained themselves to see the world with a different color of lenses.
I was talking with my martial arts student the other day. She's, I think, 16. And she recognizes that, she sees it in the people that she goes to school with, that something happens in the mind. We were talking about play, that something happens in the mind where people become so serious and so driven, kind of sucked into the hustle culture, that they no longer can experience the life they're living. And that's the danger of that push, go, succeed cultural message. Now, it's not that we can't go for things, but the key is that we can't appreciate anything we get unless we work on our thoughts first and foremost. So our thoughts should be the primary thing that we're focusing on. And then when we do achieve things, we're going to be able to appreciate them. And the magic of it is that we're going to be able to appreciate a little bowl of soup or that entire banquet very equally, because we've developed a thinking that allows us to experience life.
There's a saying, the only Zen you find on a mountaintop is the Zen you bring there. And that's sort of applicable in this case. Really, the thoughts you bring to something are the thoughts that are there. So that is essential to cultivate. I'm thinking about health and how much what we think about, what we eat, what we do, our genetic history, all of that plays into how we actually experience the health of our body and the world. And of course, we've all heard of incredible stories where people is mind over matter, or mind over medicine, or whatever you want to say, and they have had miraculous healing, or they have had things that have happened that just don't have explanations. And a lot of that time, it happens because of the thoughts, and that's where placebo is so amazing too. So we really can see that thoughts truly impact every part of our life, our relationships, especially what we think of what somebody else is thinking, or what we think of who they are. And we've already boxed them. Oh, well, Kenton is this kind of person. I've already in my head made thoughts about who he is, and then I'm just judging him based off of that without seeing the real Kenton. Okay, so let's say we can all agree on that. What do you do? Let's say you think, oh my gosh, I'll take health. I really actually think of myself as kind of weak, and I have this genetic history, and I'm really worried, but I don't want to think that way anymore. I want to see myself as abundant. I want to see myself as healthy. What do? How do you get out of that?
So our thoughts are something that for most of us are kind of on autopilot. The first thing is we have to become aware of our thoughts. This is where I'm going to suggest a meditation practice. If we pay attention to what's happening in our mind, and meditation is one way to do that, then we become aware. As soon as we're aware, we can start to get back into the driver's seat. Until then, we're on autopilot, and we are at the mercy, not of our thoughts, but of the thoughts basically that are culturally conditioned into us.
It's like, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want to think for yourself, tons of other people will do it for you.
They will.
And you can buy their products too.
They will. And it's, if you think about, let's try an experiment. Okay. So we're going to have you watch 2 clips here. So watch this first clip. Pay attention to how it makes you feel. Now watch this clip. Pay attention to how it makes you feel. So what we have here is we have some awareness. You probably all were able to experience that. The second clip is very representative of what our culture usually is feeding us. So if I'm intaking that cultural diet, that's the thoughts that are given to me. They're not your thoughts. They're thoughts that are implanted into us, essentially. And that becomes our reality. So today we know that so many people are living in constant anxiety and fear about the state of the world. And you know what? It's not just today.
Mm-hmm.
So many channels. I mean, it's funny, you can go a year back. I'm not going to mention some, but you can go back and you can see some of these predictive channels, and they're saying next week, the economy will collapse. Next week, this will happen. Next week, this will. A year later.
Say you could go back to Marcus Aurelius's time and people are worried about the state of affairs.
I mean, that's the next step.
When do we not worry about the state of affairs, especially if we're plugged into the media and all of that?
Every culture is giving their citizens a mind diet. And it usually keeps people scared and full of anxiety. It's no different now than it ever has been.
Yeah, I mean, drama sells. That's what we're talking about here. So we have, first of all, awareness. I'm just going to recap for myself. We have awareness, because if you are on autopilot and you don't know what you're thinking, you can't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So first you have to be aware. Secondly, I love what you're saying. What do you feed yourself? What are you allowing to come into your thoughts and your belief system? That's another place to have awareness, because essentially what we feed our brains, how we train them, is how we live.
Yeah. Now we change the diet we give our brain, our mind, and we have that awareness. Now we can start taking thoughts and being deliberate with them. So I can look at, there's 1,000 examples we could use. So liver, I never liked a liver. And I can look at liver and I can go, oh, this is delicious. I can't wait to eat this. And I will eat it and it still tastes like crap. And I do that. And I do that over and over and over. Now I like liver.
It's true. I can attest to this. We have been training ourselves. We have a little bit of, this is probably too much information, but we have a little bit of iron deficiency that runs in some members of the family. And we thought, okay, we need to get a good source of iron. And so we have been training ourselves to enjoy liver. And it does take, I would say it probably took about 10 times before I at least felt, well, I don't know why I complained about this. It's not that bad, to eventually, oh yeah, I mean, I like liver and onions. I know it sounds kind of crazy. Classic thing.
The classic thing.
So you're saying you need to train yourself like you would shape a vine growing up an arbor, or the way that you would lift weights and get stronger. You can't say, okay, I'm going to lift 5-pound weights today, and then tomorrow, whoa, yeah. You have to do that repetitively. So you're saying deliberate thoughts repetitively.
Right. We have no problem, let's say, with earning money, thinking we're going to do this over, decades and decades.
Right.
Same thing with our thinking. We're thinking of this as a long-term goal and making investments in it every single day. Because again, this is more important of an investment than money or anything else in your life. So I notice now my thoughts. How do they make me feel? How do they serve me and the people around me? And every time I have a thought, I try to give it some attention. And as you do this, you'll become more and more aware. You'll catch yourself, gosh, I'm looking at that person and thinking, what an idiot. And what is that doing? That thought is useless. The only thing it's doing is affecting my mentality negatively and creating more judgment in my mind and creating a little bit of stress for my system, low-level chronic stress, eroding my health. That's the only thing I'm doing by thinking that person's an idiot.
Yeah.
If that's on autopilot, it's just going to happen. But if I have that awareness, I'm going to catch myself and I'm going to go, no, I'm the idiot. For thinking, wasting a thought on that.
I'm going to control what I think. I'm going to think my thoughts. My thoughts will not think me.
Yes. Oh, beautiful.
So I have two things to say. First, I just wanted to talk about meditation, because if you're like I have been in some parts of my life, maybe you're a mom with little kids, or you have a ton of things going on and you think, I do not have time for meditation. There is the one breath meditation. You've probably talked about that before.
Should we put a little link to it up here?
So the one breath meditation, super great, because then, In fact, I like it better on some days because then throughout the day, instead of I think, oh, I meditated for 15 minutes this morning, so I'm done with it. If I do one breath meditations throughout the day, it's causing me for one moment of an inhale, exhale to stop. And that's really, really good because then for a moment, you can stop your train going off on its own and you can say, everything come back for this one moment multiple times a day. So one thing that's worked personally for me when I'm trying to train my brain is to have at least one other person, preferably more people, that are also interested in getting down to the nitty-gritty bones of the operating system with you and asking you questions and holding you accountable and saying, hey, that kind of sounds like what we talked about. It sounds like you're just sort of doing the same old autopilot. Do you really believe that? And really being able to have some discussion, because when you examine things, you can start to have some dawning realizations. And I always feel, for me, that those are very useful in really rewiring the circuitry of my brain.
Yeah, community, such a good thing on so many levels. So once you have your thoughts aware and you're starting to look at individual thoughts, then you're ready to go one step deeper, which is what you hinted at before, which is to look at your beliefs. So our thoughts are kind of the output of our operating system, but our beliefs are the underlying operation itself. And this is sort of a nebulous concept because you're not talking about religious belief or belief in the usual conception of it. We're talking about your basic feeling about life. So now, when I look at that person, I can be aware, oh, that idiot, my surface level thought. But now I'm becoming aware of the feeling or the basic, I look at that person and there's a sensation out of which that those words and that thought arise.
Right. Where do the thoughts stem from? The thoughts are like the pop-up windows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So becoming aware of that, and then you can catch things before they become thoughts. This is where you're kind of taking this to a pretty deep level. When you look over and you sense something and you question that basic sensation. And for a lot of us, there's going to be, we've got our surface level thoughts, and then we've got our beliefs, which are kind of, our religious belief, our belief about
they're kind of more categorized into crystallized boxes.
But then I guess what I'm talking about when I say belief is something underneath
the foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to become aware of in order to really do what Marcus Aurelius was talking about, is to shape our thinking, and that will shape our life.
I have a little aside, which is that if you find yourself taking something very seriously, seriousness is a place where we crystallize that foundation and then the belief and then the thought. So if you find yourself really serious about something, that is dead serious, investigate it. Maybe it truly is. And that's great, and we can make change from there. But maybe it's something that you're taking seriously. I used to be a really controlling person. I'm still recovering from that. And I found I had all these things I thought should be a certain way. And after examining them for a while, I found, well, wait a second, that's not true. It's wonderful that there's so many different ways we can be in the world. So if you find yourself butting up against something really serious, that's a flag. Hey, just examine that for a second. Is it as serious as I think it is?
Share in the comments your journey with thinking. Do you feel like you have your thoughts under control, or do they rule over you right now? What practices have you used to rein them in or start to take the driver's seat back a little bit? And if you really have a good handle on your thoughts and they're shaping your life in a positive way, share how you achieve that in the comments so that others can learn from you.
Yeah, this is where we can use that power of community to really give each other some support and help each other grow.
All right. Love to you all, my friends, and can't wait to talk with you in the comments.